View the preterit of regular verbs in Spanish. We're going to use these sentences. In these sentences, I have different AR verbs, but all of those verbs are regular verbs. So we're going to find out which ones are the endings to conjugate according with the subject pronoun. Let's make a quick review of the present tense endings for AR verbs, and let's find out which ones are the preterit tense endings for AR verbs also from the previous sentences. In the meantime, we analyze those sentences. You are going to complete this table. So please pause this video and copy this table, because you are going to complete this table with the endings that we are going to highlight in the next transparency. You are going to find out what is the ending to conjugate in the present tense for the verb estudiar, or it could be any verb, AR verb, because those are regular verbs. For instance, you are going to complete what is the ending to conjugate an AR verb in the yo form in the present tense here, and what is the ending to conjugate AR verb in the preterit. The same with the to form. To, what is the ending to conjugate present tense with the AR verb, and what are the ending to conjugate a preterit for the AR verb, and so on. For the third person, él, ella, usted, or for the preterit. Thus, you are going to do it. Let's analyze here. In the first sentences, normalmente yo camino 3 millas, pero ayer yo caminé 5 millas. What is the verb we're using here? Caminar. Let's drop the ending. And then what is left is the stem. What is the subject? Yo. What is the ending to conjugate in the present tense? O. Because this sentence is conjugated in the present tense. Normally, I walk 3 miles. But yesterday, I walked 5 miles. So, to conjugate in the preterit, because this action took place yesterday, the ending to conjugate with the yo form is E with accent. So complete those endings in the previous table to conjugate in the yo form. Present tense, preterit, AR verbs. Let's go to the second sentences. Generalmente, tú escuchas la música de Shakira, pero ayer escuchaste a Ricky Martin. Generally, you listened to Shakira's music, but yesterday you listened to Ricky Martin. What is the verb we're using here? Escuchar. Let's drop the ending. That's the stem. This is the subject, tú. What is the ending to conjugate in the present tense? AS. What is the ending to conjugate in the preterit? But yesterday, aste a Ricky Martin. So the endings to conjugate in the present tense is as, and in the preterit is aste. Número 3. Siempre Pedro compra una flor para María, pero esta mañana no compró. Always Peter buys a flower a flower for Mary. But this morning he didn't. It was not romantic today. What verb we are using here? To buy, comprar. Let's drop the ending. That's the stem. This action took place in the present tense. The subject is Pedro, third person, él, ella, usted. So what is the ending for the present tense? Compra. But this morning, so the action took place this morning, no compró. So the endings for the third person in the preterit is O with accent. 4. Todas las noches Karen y yo conversamos por teléfono, pero anoche no conversamos. It's every night Karen and I talk by phone, but last night we didn't. So what is the verb we are using here? Conversar, to chat. What is the subject? Karen and I, we, nosotros. So what is the ending? Let's drop the ending. This is the stem. What is the ending to conjugate in the present tense? Because this action is taking place in the present tense. Amos. What is the ending in the preterit? Last night we didn't. Same, amos. So in the nosotros form, we have the same endings for AR verbs in the present tense and in the preterit. So the context is telling me that this action took place in the preterit because it's last night we didn't. Number 5. Vosotros habláis con sus compañeros, but this morning you didn't. Vosotros is the subject, the verb is hablar. Let's drop the ending, that's the stem. So this is the ending to conjugate in the present tense, and this is the ending to conjugate in the preterit for the vosotros as a subject. And the last one, generalmente los chicos bailan en la discoteca, pero el viernes pasado no bailaron. Generally, the boys dance at the disc, but last Friday they didn't. What verb we are using here? Bailar. Let's drop the ending. That's the stem. The subject is los chicos, they. So what is the ending in the present tense? An. In the preterit, dice, but last Friday no bailaron. So the ending for the preterit conjugation is aron. So those are the endings. So let's compare what do you have in the endings. So this is you are supposed to have. In the present tense, estudio, estudias, estudia, estudiamos, estudiáis, estudian. In the preterit, estudié, estudiaste, estudió, estudiamos, estudiasteis, estudiaron. Those are the endings to conjugate in the preterit. Preterit. The preterit is used to talk about finished or completed actions in the past. If the action or event is viewed by the speaker as completed by certain time point. So those are actions completed in the past. And the Spanish past tense or preterit is like a present tense. To conjugate, we have to add some endings to the stem, as we did it in the previous example. Here, the verb hablar. We use the same endings we use for the verb from the previous verb. Hablé, hablaste, habló, hablamos, hablasteis, hablaron. Don't forget that nosotros form has the same ending in the present tense and in the preterit. So the context is telling us what verb is conjugated in the present tense or the preterit. Nosotros hablamos con María. It's present tense. Nosotros hablamos con María la semana pasada. This last week is telling me that this action took place in the preterit. Let's review the endings, how to conjugate the second and the third group of verbs, ER and IR verbs. Here's the good news for the preterit. We have in the preterit the same exactly endings to conjugate in the preterit, including the nosotros and vosotros form. And also we have to remember that the yo form, él, ella, usted form, they have an accent mark. Here we have comer, comí, comiste, comió, comimos, comisteis, comieron. Escribir, escribí, escribiste, escribió, escribimos, escribisteis, escribieron. So, yo form, hablé, comí, escribí. Él, ella, usted form, habló, comió, escribió. All of those forms, they have an accent mark. So my recommendation is you have to memorize the endings, how to conjugate AR verbs, and the endings to conjugate ER and IR, they are the same. And then you can use to conjugate any AR verb or IR verb using the same endings.